Hi, today I'm gonna show you how to knit this beautiful yoke spring sweater named Blossom Blossom. Let's get started. Okay, same as usual. Please check my description box for all the details. I put the link below. You can go there and download my free pattern. The pattern is based on this YouTube tutorial, so you better watch and look at the pattern at the same time. This is top down yoke sweater. All right, it's not raglan sweater. So as you can see, you don't see raglan line. Okay, first of all, let me tell you what's the difference between raglan sweater and yoke sweater. Raglan line, knit the neckline, and then divide by 4 parts, front and back, and 2 sleeves. And you increase the stitches right on the raglan line. All right, that's why you see the raglan line. What about the yoke increasing? Yoke increasing is you knit around and increase evenly around. That's the biggest difference. Rest of them pretty much same. Okay, so today, general idea, after the yoke design, you increase 10% of the cast on and you knit 1 inch worth and then increase 20% of the stitch. And you repeat until you hit your target stitch count. And if the length is long enough, you will separate the sleeve. But with this project, it's a little bit different because while you're knitting first leaf design, right there, I will increase some stitch inside of the leaf design. Don't worry, I will tell you step by step. So after the neck rib, I increase 10%, knit 1 inch worth, and then increase 20%, then add in the lace design. Then after the lace design, obviously, I'm going to increase more and more, little by little, inch by inch, until you hit the target stitch count. And then separate the sleeves from the yoke and leave the sleeve alone. Knit the body part. You might need to make a plan ahead with small math, but I will tell you everything you need. Example, the both lace stitch needs the stitch count with multiple of 16. However, the first one ended up with multiple of 20. So, yeah, sounds like you have to adjust some stitches, right? But don't worry, I will tell you. And these little flowers are by crochet. You don't have to if you don't want to, or if you can't crochet, obviously, you don't need to. All right, I thought, I should add a little bit more there. And back part, I didn't add it. So if you, would like to have a sweater without the flower, looks like this. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of the swatch and measurement. Obviously, you have to knit the swatch. Mine 4 by 4, 24 stitches and 34 rows, within 4 inch. And I need your desired measurement. My neck desired length is 23 inches. My actual neck is only 12. So I kind of want to have a big neck opening this time. Okay? Because I didn't add back of the neck, with short row this time. It's kind of boat neck. So you should have little bigger neck opening. And arm. I measure myself, and then I need at least 11 inch. Then the chest, the bust area, 35. Those are the number you need for your little math. So let's move on. Okay, I open up my math gauge template. If you do have my template, you're lucky because you don't have to do math. But if you don't, you have to do little math manually. But don't worry, I include everything you need in my written pattern. So please follow that instruction so you can easily find out the numbers. Okay, so let's move on. Here, the red section, you have to input your swatch information. So I'm going to put my swatch information, which is 4 inch by 4 inch. And I have 24 stitch count and 34 rows within 4 by 4 swatch. And then let's find out the cast on number. My actual neck measurement is 12 inch, but I would like to have bigger neck opening this time because it's going to be yoke design, and I don't want to add short row for back of my neck. So, to make sure I won't be choking, right? So, has to be bigger than usual. And I'm using 1 by 1 ribbon for the neck. So, 23 inches, quite bigger than actual neck. Okay, so the top part, it says find out stitch count from the length. I know the length 23, so then find out the cast on number. So 23 inches. It's yellow section, so go back to yellow section here, 138. So if you want to have 23 inches neck opening, at least you have to have 138 stitches. But this is not the final cast on number. Let's go down. Right here, multiple of whatever the number. So I want you to put 16 because I want you to have the number with the multiple of 16. Let's find out right here. 144. Well, 128 or 144, but I'm going to go with 144. This is the closest number for the math I just did, 138. Okay, this is the cast on number. Okay, because it has to be multiple of 16. All right, and next, let's look at this part. Bust, the chest, and 2 sleeves. My chest is 35 inches, and then one arm needs at least 11 inches, and add it up, 57 inches. This is the goal measurement, which is the supposed to be at end of the my yoke. Then why you have to have this number? Because if you have this, stitch count, you know how many stitches you have to increase, right? So let's go up and right here, right? Because I know the length. So I'm going to put the 57 now, and then it's yellow section, and here, 142. No, 342. And right here, okay? So the 57 has to be 342 stitches. However, it says multiple of 20. Then I pick 340. Okay, so 20 multiple of 20 and close to here, 340. It doesn't really have to be multiple of 20, but maybe easier for everybody to think this way. Okay, the reason why, okay, the first leaf lace stitch needs stitch count multiple of 16. That's why my cast on number is multiple of 16 and 144, right? However, during the first lace design, I am going to increase total of 4 stitch. Okay, so you will ended up have the stitch count with multiple of 20. So this is the only reason why I said, maybe you should have the multiple of 20. So that'll be kind of easier later on to kind of, think, because you have to adjust numbers, a lot of times. Anyway, so 340, that's my goal. All right? And a couple more number you need to find out. Okay. Earlier, I told you I'm going to increase first 10% and I'm going to knit about 1 inch and then increase 20% and, repeat. You have to kind of increase 20% of the stitch every 1 inch, right? I don't want to measure. So let's find out how many rows you need for 1 inch. And right here, find out row count from the length. So 1 inch, it's orange. So with my knitting tension, 1 inch is 8.5. So I would say 8 rows would be my 1 inch. So in other words, I knit 8 rows without the increasing. So 9th row, I am going to increase. And after the increasing row, I'm going to knit another 8 rows, then increase 20%. Something like that. So it's actually good to know how many rows for your 1 inch. Okay? And then the next is flower second lace design. The flower design complete on row 49. And I want to know the length, the height of the flower. Okay? So at the end here, okay, find out the length from the row count. I know the row count. The flower design complete on row 49. So I'm going to put the 49 here. Okay? And this is the blue section. Let's go down. Blue section, 5.76, about 6 inch height, right? Why you have to know this number? That's because this is top-down sweater. You don't know when to start this flower design. You don't want to start knitting flower design way too early. If you start flower design way too early, the flower will be the mid of your sweater. More like, just above the rib, right? So you have to kind of think backwards, okay? So rib, on top of the rib, 6 inch height, that's where you want to start. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to have longer sweater, so you have to kind of think backwards, which means after you separate the sleeve, you have to knit quite long. then start. You know what I'm saying? So in other words, if you want a, shorter sweater, but if you keep knitting after you separate the sleeve, and then, oh, okay, I have to start, but, it's too late, then it's going to be too long. Stuff like that, right? So you kind of have to have, number the height of the flower. So, you can kind of, make a plan when to start knitting this flower design. I think that's about it. If you have those numbers figured it out, I think time to knit. All right? And next, I want to talk about the no stitch in chart. If you don't like reading the chart, you can skip this. But I think it's good to learn how to read the chart, especially a lot of people give up because they don't understand no stitch means. So let me talk about that. All right? Okay, so let me talk about how to read the chart with no stitch. I'm gonna actually make it quite short. All right? So, like I told you before, with this design, start with stitch count multiple of 16 and end with multiple of 20, which means I'm gonna increase total of 4 stitch somewhere, right? So let's see the chart. These numbers are the stitch count, right? And the both side number, those are the row number. So stitch count from 1 to 20. But I said start with multiple of 16. And can you see these black section? The black section is no stitch. Everything else, I wrote it down. If it's just a white blank, knit. Black dot, this one is the bubble. Circle is yarn over, stuff like that, right? So what do you mean by no stitch? Which means no stitch. However, a lot of people get confused because even though I'm saying start with multiple of 16, but the stitch count is from 1 to 20, right? So some people says, okay, this make bubble is at the 11th stitch. So if you keep knitting and you make bubble at the 11th stitch, you can't finish this design because there are only 16 stitch, not 20 stitch. So I'll tell you the answer. This no stitch black section, you cannot count, which means you have to ignore. So you have to ignore those numbers at the bottom. These numbers are, including the future stitches. You know what I'm saying? So this is how you count. Okay, so knit 4 and no stitch, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Knit 4 and you ignore this black no stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip. Then 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip and 9. So you have to make bubble at 9th stitch instead of 11th. You know what I'm saying? So these numbers are, okay, you will have 20 stitch at the end. That's about it. Okay, so from row number 1 until row 16, you have multiple of 16 stitch count. However, row number 17, I am going to increase 2 stitch here and here. So that's why black section end at on row number 16. So ML means make one left. So increasing. So from row 17 until row 22, you have multiple of 18 stitches. And right on the row 23rd, I'm going to increase 2 more stitch here. That's why black section, no stitch section end on row number 22. So after you increase 2 stitch on row 23, there you go. You have 20 stitches. You know what I'm saying? Some people ask me, okay, so why don't you put those, 4 black section either side so it's easy to count? No, you can't do that because the black no stitch section has to be where you want to increase. So I want to increase here and here on row number 17. So these are the no stitch. And suddenly I'm going to make 1 stitch here and 1 stitch here. If I put the black section, no stitch section over here, means I have to increase only this side, which means I'm going to ruin the design. You know what I'm saying? So if you see no stitch, black or gray section like this, don't count. So the most important thing is you shouldn't look at those numbers as existing stitch count. These are all included your future increasing stitch. That's all. All right. But again, if you don't like reading the chart, don't worry. I have just a written pattern. And right here, row number 17, at the end, make 1 left, increasing, right? So sometimes you encounter, a pattern with just a chart, right? And you don't want to give up. That's because you don't understand no stitch means. But from now on, you can actually knit with just a chart. All right? So let's move on to actual knitting. Okay, so this is what I use. Let's cast on. According to my math, my cast on number is 144. I don't know your number, but has to be multiple of 16. Again, I'm not adding any short row for the back of my neck. So you should have little bigger neck opening with this project. If it's too small, you feel like you're choking. All right. So after the cast on, I'm going to actually use magic loop technique because I'm using quite longer, cable. And I'm connecting both ends and start knitting in round. and my ribbon is 1 by 1, which means repeat of knit 1 and purl 1. I wasn't thinking of adding the flower stitch at this time, so I could use the KBL 1 and purl 1, which is knit back loop and purl 1. It's really up to you. And I knit about 2 inch. And this is optional. I'm gonna make it double neck, which is, I want to get rid of the raw edge. So just, fold inward like that. Okay, and pick up the bottom of the stitch. And I started with knit stitch, right? So the wrong side should be purl. So you know which stitch you have to pick. Just straight down and pick at the bottom of the stitch. The first stitch should be very important, because if you pick up the wrong stitch, your neck rib is gonna kind of shift towards left or right. Anyway, after you pick up the bottom of the stitch, you will do knit 2 together to close that opening. Okay, so next I pick up the bottom of the stitch, and then with the original stitch, knit 2 together. Okay, this is double neck, and you don't have to if you don't want to. Okay, and just close one around. Okay, then neck rib is done. So now you have to change the needle from 3 to 4 millimeter. Okay, and this is just a prep row. Knit 1 row. Okay, with the new needle, and then I'm gonna actually increase, and I don't really like increasing with mixed of the purl, so that's why I knit 1 round right after the neck rib. Okay, so let's increase. Everybody should increase just about 10%. So I have 144 stitch count. 10% should be 14 stitches. However, I want to keep multiple of 16. So I decide I am going to increase 16. Then I keep the multiple of 16 stitch count. So everybody probably about the same number, right? So I will ended up having the 160 after I increase 16 stitches. And what I do, 144 divide by 16 is 9. So I am going to do like this. Repeat of knit 9 and make 1 left. Knit 9 and make 1 left. Increase. All right? So let's do that. By the way, the reason why I use the make 1 left technique for general increasing, that's only because I'm going to use make 1 left in first lace design. I thought I should use the, same method. Anyway, I just did knit 9 and do the make 1 left. Using the running thread, pick up, and then hook onto left needle. Make sure running thread is shifting left. And you have to knit the loop connect to next stitch. The front loop connect to previous stitch. So you look at the back loop is connecting to next stitch. So you have to knit back loop. Keep the yarn back and needle straight in, because the back is kind of purl, right? So straight in and then knit, and then again knit 9, then make 1 left. Like I said, you have to repeat. This is for my math. Okay, you have to do your math. Make one left, hook onto left needle, and then keep the yarn back and knit the back loop. Okay, so you just keep doing until the end. Okay, don't forget the increase last stitch just before the begin marker. All right, and after the first increasing 10%, okay, I'm gonna knit 1 inch worth, which is 8 rows for me. Do you remember I talked about it? And then I'm gonna increase second, which is 20%. Anyway, this is end of the increase in number 1. I just knit 9, and again, don't forget to increase last stitch. There we go. If you're not sure, make sure you count whole stitch. And let's knit inch worth. I am going to knit 8 rows. Okay, so everybody same. Neck rib 10%, inch 8 rows for me, and then increase number 2, which is 20% of everything. Okay, so again, 20% of 160, that's my stitch count, is 32. Keep the stitch count multiple of 16. Okay, so you should increase multiple of 16. Okay, so 160 divided by 32, that's how many I have to increase, is 5. So I am going to do repeat of knit 5, then make 1 left. And after this, I'm going to have total of 160 plus 32, so 192 stitch, which is multiple of 16. All right, keep the stitch count with multiple of 16. Okay, almost done. And after the second increasing, okay, I'm going to start the first lace design. Okay, I just did last, make 1 left. And preparation row for the lace design, knit 1 round and add in the marker every 16 stitch, because the first lace design, well, the second flower design, same thing, repeat of 16 stitch. So if you add markers every 16 stitch, you will notice right away if you make a mistake. So I recommend you to add markers every 16 stitches. And let's start. By the way, I'm not going to show every single row because it's super easy. Anyway, row number 1, there is MB, make bubble. So I'll show you, okay? Knit 8, then make bubble. Make bubble, you use this technique for the flower design. Right? So make bubble, knit front, back, and front. So I create 3 stitch within 1 stitch. Okay, and I use those 3 stitch. Turn around, wrong side, purl 3. Those 3 I just create. Turn around, right side, knit 3. Then turn around. This is kind of, row number 4. Wrong side. This is the last purl 3. take your time. So you create a little bit of, extra fabric, right? And then keep the yarn back, slip one knitwise, knit two together. There you go. And then PSSO, pass slip stitch over. Then just keep knitting. That's about it. There you go. Make bubble. So this is row number 3. Okay? Knit 2. Yarn over. And slip, slip, knit. SSK. And knit 4. I just knit 8 stitch, so you have to do one more. That's why it's repeat one more time. Yarn over and SSK. Again, I'm not showing you every row. Okay? And when you hit the 16 stitch marker, you do same thing again until the end. Next row, row number 5. I just want to make sure about one thing on row number 5. The pattern itself is just straightforward, okay? But I thought I better, tell you. So the knit 2 and then yarn over SSK. Simple, right? And I just did yarn over and SSK, but the first stitch for SSK is regular stitch, but the second stitch for SSK is yarn over in previous row. So probably, if I don't tell you, people think maybe I made a mistake, writing the pattern. No, this is the right pattern. Okay, second stitch for SSK is yarn over in previous. So it's a little bit awkward, but it's not the mistake. Okay, and after the first SSK, you do yarn over and SSK. The second SSK, both stitches are regular stitch. Only for the first SSK, this one, okay? So, knit 2, and then yarn over, and this one, SSK, but the second stitch is just a yarn over. So if you drop those stitch, it's gonna be really hard to recover if you're a beginner. So please be careful. All right? So that's all about the row number 5. And you might encounter, same situation. So just take your time and don't make a mistake. Okay? So I meet you row 13 because now knit 2 together kicks in. There we go. Repeat off, knit 2 together, yarn over. And again, one thing I want to mention, which is at the end of the 16 group, you have to finish with yarn over. You know what I'm saying? Because repeat of knit 2 together and yarn over. So right here, okay, this is last knit 2 together. First of all, don't forget to yarn over before the marker, right? And then slide the marker and now knit 2 together, but be careful with the yarn over working yarn. If you go over the marker, the yarn over goes to next batch of the 16 stitch. So you might create one stitch less for the previous group and then 1 stitch more for next. So you have to kind of go around and make sure the last yarn over in the, previous group, end of the previous 16 stitch group. Okay, that's only I want to mention. All right. So there we go. This is the last yarn over for row number 13. And this I have to tell you again. Because row number 14 is purl, yarn over from knit stitch to purl. Okay? Yarn over, so yarn front, and then start making purl. This is just a regular purl working yarn movement. So if the yarn over from knit to purl, you have to yarn over once more. Okay, let's do that again. So yarn over, okay, yarn over, and then one more yarn over. So kind of double yarn over, and then purl. So if I say double, well, I'm not going to say double yarn over here, but you have to be very careful with yarn over. Okay? So now row number 17. Make one left increasing, kicks in. Okay? So the 2 no stitch section is removed. Okay? We are going to have 18 stitches in the group. So knit 2 and knit 2 together, yarn over, and knit 2 together again. Super easy. And yarn over, knit 2, then make one left. And this is 8 stitch group, so you gotta do one more. There you go, make one left. I already told you how to do, so I'm not gonna tell you. That's it. And knit 2, and knit 2 together, yarn over. Just repeat. There you go. Yarn over, knit 2, then make one left. There we go. Careful. This is the reason why I use the make one left for just a regular increasing. That's about it. Okay, after this, nothing that I need to show you because everything else is, same method, right? So I just want to make sure on the row 17, I increase 2 stitch, right? So now you should have stitch count multiple of 18. And row 23rd, I am going to increase 2 more stitch. Ended up having multiple of 20. So I meet you at the end of the first lace design, but I haven't reached my goal stitch count yet. So after the lace design, obviously I'm going to increase more and more, 20% each time until the stitch count hit the goal. And if you have quite bigger chest, you can actually increase 30% instead of 20. because you kind of want to finish before at the end of the yoke, which is the time you have to separate the sleeve. All right? After the lace design, I will have 240 stitch count total because I increase, right? It's beautifully done. Again, from 192 to 240. And my target stitch count is 340. Close. So, after the lace design, knit 1 inch more, which is 8 rows for me. And then start increasing again. And I want to make sure a couple things. After I knit 1 inch, I just finished, the length from the bottom of the neck is about 5.5 inch. And my target length is 7.5 to 8 inch. So it's long enough to separate the sleeve and connect under my armpit. Again, I'm going to increase until I hit the my goal stitch count. First, 20% of the 240 stitches, which is 48 stitches increase. 240 divided by 48 is 5. So I'm going to do repeat of knit 5 and make 1 left in 1 round. Then knit 1 more inch and then 20% increase and ended up 345. However, my stitch goal count is 340. So I can adjust a little bit to make it 340. Probably some people wonder, what if I didn't reach the enough length even though I have enough stitch count? Don't worry. Just knit until enough length without the increasing. What about vice versa? You know, I reach the enough length but not enough increasing. Don't worry. Separate the sleeve and then increase just the body part. I will talk about it a little bit later. All right? So let me talk about how to separate the sleeve. And I wrote everything down, how I adjust the number of the stitch. I have 340 stitch count total. And I knit enough length, 7.5 to 8. So now I can separate the sleeve. Again, if the length is not long enough, even though you have enough stitch count, don't worry, just knit more rows without the increasing until you have enough length. Don't worry, don't panic, okay? And the other way around. If the length is long enough, but increasing hasn't done, not enough, separate the sleeve anyway, okay? And then increase only body part. But I think, you don't really have to do that in case you have a really big, chest or something. Should be. If you can adjust number before this would happen. Like again, you can increase 25% or 30%. That's the beauty of the yoke, sweater, right? You can actually adjust the number, but don't increase too many at once. It's going to be wavy. Now, let's talk about sleeves. my measurement of arm were 11 inches each side, right? And that was the 66 stitches each side. So the whole stitch minus 2 arms stitch count, which is 340 minus 66 times 2 is 208. All right? So take 2 sleeves out of the yoke. The rest of them are the front and back. So for me, 208, which means divided by 2, so 104 is each front and back stitch count. So from the beginning marker, take the arm, then front, arm, and back. That's how you going to divide. And I want you to think one more thing. Do you remember I'm going to add flower design, which needs multiple of 16. And luckily, my front and back 208 is multiple of 16. Okay? However, when I separate the sleeve and connect front and back, I would like to add new cast under my armpit. So you have to think after you add new cast both sides, it has to be multiple of 16. So now you have to kind of think. All right? So 208 for me is already multiple of 16, which means I should add multiple of 16. For new cast, which connecting front and back under armpit, so I'm going to add 8 stitches both side, total of 16 stitches. So I have a 208 plus 16. So after I add new cast, I will have 224 stitch count, which is multiple of 16. So I'm ready for flower design. If you don't know what to do with adjusting numbers, leave the comment below. I'll try to help you. All right, so let's separate the sleeves. Again, from the beginning marker, okay? Right after the beginning marker, it's going to be the first sleeve. So with the tapestry needle and scrap yarn, make sure you have complete different color. Transfer all the sleeve stitch onto scrap yarn. Don't use the stitch holder because it's stiff and you kind of want to try them on, right? So scrap yarn is the best. So after you transfer your sleeve stitch count, mine is 66, tie the knot lightly. Okay. Make sure you use the long enough the scrap yarn because again, you might want to try that on, right? So if it's too tight, you can't really put your arm in. Okay, so tie the knot like that and then connect front and back. And again, I am going to add new cast, 8 stitch, right? If you really want to make it bigger, you can actually add more stitch count. Usually 1 to 2 inch worth would be the best. Okay, so I forgot to add the beginning marker, so I redo it. I put the beginning marker because that's where the start is, right? And add 8 new casts. That's going to be under your armpit and start knitting. So after the first sleeve, it's going to be the front or back, either way, the same stitch count. So not going to worry about that. And then when you hit the other side of the sleeve, you do exactly same thing. And knit until the begin marker. All right? So now I have stitch count with multiple of 16. So just keep knitting until, okay, the flower design starts. I talk about it 49 rows before the rib, which is about 6 inch for me. So I knit few rows after I separate the sleeve. Okay? And I kind of have to think backwards, right? So I'm adding 6 inch from the current position and add rib. So this is right, time. And I add markers again every 16 stitches. Flower design, same thing. Repeat of 16 stitch. Okay, so let's start. Row number 1, super easy. Knit 7, purl 1, and knit 8. Those 16 stitches repeat. Again, I'm not showing you every rows because you already know, knit, purl, yarn over, knit 2 together, SSK, or whatever. However, I am going to show you few rows because it's sometimes tricky with the yarn over. Again, yarn over from knit stitch to purl or vice versa, yarn over from purl stitch to knit stitch. It's a little bit, awkward. And I wrote yarn over and then bracket, I wrote how to kind of, do. So you got to be careful with that yarn over. Okay, row number 5. I'm going to tell you how to yarn over from knit stitch to purl and from purl stitch to knit. So first, from knit stitch to purl, I am going to do knit 2 together and yarn over. But next stitch is purl. So if I make a purl, I don't increase anything because this yarn front is the right, movement for purl, right? So the yarn over from knit to purl, okay, what you have to do, okay, yarn over and one more. Then purl 1. Now I create 1 increase, yarn over. Okay, this is very important. So I'm going to say double yarn over right after the yarn over, which means you have to do this. Okay, and next, yarn over from purl to knit. So now my working yarn is front. So yarn over at the back and then knit. That's just a regular knit, right? So yarn over from purl to knit. Okay? I'm going to say yarn front, YF, right after the yarn over, which means keep the yarn front and then knit. So this time SSK. All right? So if the yarn over from purl to knit, okay, keep the yarn front, then knit. Okay? I'll show you one more time. Okay. Let's finish this batch and now knit 5 and knit 2 together. Okay. And then yarn over, but bracket said double yarn over. So there we go, double and purl. And yarn over and bracket says yarn front. So keep the yarn front and then SSK. All right. So if it's just a regular yarn over, okay, from knit to knit or purl to purl, I'm not gonna use the bracket. But if you see bracket, you know that's the tricky one. All right. So the yarn over is this is it. Now you can knit. And now one more row number 39. Okay, the KBL knit back loop. Super easy. Knit back loop kicks in. Just knit back loop. That's it. And from now on, you use the mixed with knit back loop and just a regular knit. So please be careful. Okay, if I said KBL, that's knit back loop. If it's just knit 4 or knit 3, that's knit stitch. Okay, and I'm gonna go row 49. The last flower row is repeat of KBL purl 1. Okay, this is actually same as just a regular, 1 by 1 rib. So I'm gonna actually keep ribbon. So do not change the needle because if you change and it will little shrink, doesn't look good. So keep ribbing until your desired length. And there we go. I need about 3 inches after row 49, and then I'm gonna bind off with one size bigger needle because I kind of want to have stretchy effect. Okay, and even though you're using the one size bigger, this is actually 5mm needle, you still have to bind off kind of loosely. Okay, if you make it really tight, it won't be stretchy. All right, so bind off around, and then let's move on to the sleeve. All right, so there we go. I finished the bind off. Quite stretchy. I'm happy with it. And look at that, beautiful. And I already knit the one sleeve, decreasing little by little. Okay, and I transfer all the sleeve stitch onto the needle, 4mm, and I put one temporary marker right before the last original stitch. Okay, now I'm going to knit up bar the new cast. Do you remember I add the new cast 8 stitch right there? So I'm going to knit up those 8 stitch. However, can you see the big gap in between last original and the new cast, and the other side as well, the last new cast and first original? There's gonna be big gap. So I have to knit up those, gap area. Okay, so the knitting up after the last original, there's 2 running thread. So I'm gonna knit up, but if I pick up just the running thread, I create the big gap. So there's the kind of separation stitch and 2 down. So I pick 2 stitch. One is the running thread, and the other one is the the little left stitch. So I have 2 slits on the needle, and then I am going to connect the new ball of yarn and then 1 knit up. This is the 1 extra. And now second extra, same thing, running thread and little stitch, close by, and then knit up. So those are the 2 extra stitch right after the last original stitch. Okay, after those 2 extra, knit up right on top of the new cast. Okay, so 8 stitch for me. So after the 4 stitch, this is gonna be the in the middle of the new cast. So I put begin marker. All right, and then knit another 4 up. However, last stitch of the new cast. So after I knit up 3, I'm gonna put the another marker and then knit last new cast. Then 2 extra this side too, which is same running thread and then kind of 1 stitch from somewhere. Make sure you're not creating big gap there. Okay, so don't take the stitch way down or way far. Okay, use the left needle if you need to, and then knit those 2 extra. All right, now you knit until the first marker, first orange marker. Okay, so what I'm actually doing is knit up 2 extra each side of the new cast, knit up, and then I'm going to decrease with those 2 extra, because if you don't knit up those extra, you're gonna create the huge gap. So try to avoid the big gap there. So right here, this is the first marker, which is last original and first extra, and next is second extra and first new cast knit up. So the first 2 stitch SSK, which is last original and first extra SSK, and next second extra and first new cast stitch, knit 2 together. That's it. So I decrease 2 stitch and then knit until next orange marker, so past the begin marker, and 1 2 3. So the last new cast stitch and third extra, I'm gonna do SSK. Create extra stitch and next row decrease, and then fourth extra and first original knit 2 together. That's it. The connection has done, and knit until begin marker, and I meet you there. Now I have to talk about the decreasing. Here comes. I connect and knit until the begin marker. Now I want to decrease, so I have to do little math. I need 3 numbers. Okay, current stitch count, I have 74 stitch after connection. 2, goal stitch count, wrapping around with the the body rib and count. My goal stitch count for the wrist, 40 stitch. Number 3, desire length you want to knit before the rib. Okay, from you just connect from there to before the rib. How long you want to knit? For me, 16 stitches. Those 3 number you need. All right, and I'm going to open up my math gauge template because there is the formula there. Okay, if you don't have my template, again, I include how to find out in the written pattern so you follow with your number. All right, because you have to decrease evenly to look nice, the shape of the sleeve. Let's move on to do little math. Okay, so I came back to my math gauge template. My swatch information are still here. All right, so this pink section, those are the sleeve formula already in. Okay, so sleeve current stitch count. Okay, I have 74 after the connection. Okay, and my goal stitch count. Okay, my wrist is 40. Has to be multiple of 2 because 2 by 1 by 1 ribbon, right? And then it says stitch you will decrease on the row. I am going to decrease 2 stitch on same row. Okay, so this is everybody's same number too. Okay, so your current stitch count, your goal stitch count, and then 2. And one more, you have to find out how many rows you're going to knit for your desired length from the current location to before the rib. Okay, for me, 16 inches, and I have to find out the row count. So the right here, find out row count from the length. Okay, so I have 16 inch I want to knit. So let's go down. So what I actually found is here. If I want to knit 16 stitch, I need to knit 136. Okay, and let's go down. This kind of, purple section. So 136 rows I have to knit. And total decreasing is 34, which is 74 current stitch count minus 40, my goal. That's obvious, right? And I decrease 2 stitch on the same row, which means how often I have to decrease? 8. So right on the 8th row, I have to decrease 2 stitch. So 8th row, 16th row, 24th row, which is multiple of 8. So let's go here, 8. There you go. So 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, blah, 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 until 136. So 17 times. 17 times 2 is 34, which is my decreasing, total of decreasing stitch, right? So this is actually quite useful, right? So those are the number you have to decrease. Right on the 8th, 16, 24th. Okay, so that's about it. Okay, so I already knit, few rows. Okay, this is end of row number 7. Okay, that's my biggie marker, right? Because that's the center of the, new cast. So right after I finish the row 7, which means, going to the row number 8, I'm going to increase 1 stitch, decrease, sorry. So just knit finish the row number 7. Knit 1 and then knit 2 together. That's it. Okay, and I have to decrease 1 more stitch. That's just before the begin marker. So knit until last 3 stitch before the begin marker. And I'll do SSK and knit 1. That's about it. Okay, here comes. This is end of row number 8. Okay, and SSK and knit 1. So you just have to repeat until your goal. Simple. If you want to have balloon sleeve, you can do that, you know, and half sleeve, whatever. And the rib, 1 by 1 ribbon, same as the body. Just change the needle to 3 millimeter. And I did just 10 rows. I think that's enough for me. If you want to have a longer, rib, go ahead. Okay. And I'm gonna do the stretchy bind off with tapestry needle this time. Okay. Purl 2 together and do not drop any stitch off. Okay. And then knit the first one. Then drop that first stitch off. And don't pull too hard. Purl 2 together again and knit 1, knit the first one and drop that stitch off. That's it. You just have to repeat. Okay, purl 2 and knit 1 and drop the stitch. Sleeves are easy because less stitch count and just decreasing little by little. Okay, so I finish both sleeves and stretchy enough for the bind off. And now let me talk about that little flower. The reason why I put the flower, because the yoke sweater you have to kind of increase evenly. So there's a little gap or whatever, right? And which I don't really like. That's why I don't usually knit the yoke sweater. So I thought maybe I should put some flower so people see that flower. So kind of distraction, you know what I'm saying? So I use the crochet technique. So if you don't know how, I'm sorry. Maybe you should find some other way or just don't do anything. Okay, this is simple. Maybe it's time to learn how to do crochet. Anyway, I'm gonna use the magic loop. I'm gonna wrap around 2 fingers, put the crochet hook, and then grab the last one and chain 1. That's it. And then chain 5 to start. 2, 3, 4, 5. And slip stitch into that magic loop, slip stitch. There you go. That's the first petal. And chain 5 and slip stitch into the magic loop. And you make the 5 petal total. That's it. Too simple, right? This is third one. Slip stitch into the magic loop. There we go. And chain 5 on 2, 3, 4, 5. and slip stitch into the magic loop. I think one more, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so here's the thing. And slip stitch into the magic loop. Now you can cut the yarn. Okay, I made total of 5. Okay, so cut the end. Make sure long enough because you have to kind of sew them, right? And pull. Okay, and now there's the 2 thread. The bottom one, usually, pull and make the magic loop smaller until, you can't pull anymore, and then pull the end. So the magic loop is going to get smaller. That's it. Finally done. I put the little pearl bead right on top of the flower, so looks more like little flower, right? And I didn't actually put those little flower on the back because I don't care, because I can't really see my back part, right? So look at this beautiful leaf lace design and flower design. And I love the color, perfect for the spring sweater. So thank you for watching. If you have any question, leave a comment below. Bye for now. Enjoy knitting.